What you're about to hear isn't magic, and it isn't a government conspiracy. It's history. Real, documented, publicly reported history. And somehow, most people have never heard the full story. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. Everything you're about to hear is drawn from publicly available research, historical records, and open source reporting. Nothing here is classified. Nothing here is a call to action. GPS spoofing and electronic warfare are heavily regulated, and in most cases, illegal, outside of authorized military and research environments. We're not here to replicate anything. We're here to understand. And as you're about to discover, understanding is where the real power lives. Always follow all applicable local, federal, and international laws, and when in doubt, consult licensed professionals. Now, let's get into it. It was December 4th, 2011. Somewhere over Iranian airspace, a machine was flying in silence. No pilot, no noise, no radar signature. The RQ-170 Sentinel, a Lockheed Martin stealth drone, nicknamed by some insiders as the Beast of Kandahar, was on a classified mission. It was worth an estimated $200 million. It was invisible to radar. It was being operated remotely from thousands of miles away. And then, it was gone. No explosion, no debris field, no distress signal, just gone. Days later, Iranian state television aired footage that stopped defense analysts cold. There it was, the drone, sitting on a platform, intact, largely undamaged, and Iranian military personnel were standing around it, smiling. The United States acknowledged the loss. Iran claimed they brought it down. The entire world asked the same question at the same time. How? How do you take down a $200 million stealth aircraft without firing a single shot? Without a missile? Without a collision? Without leaving a scratch? That question, that one question, is what this entire video is about. Here's what most people never find out. The method Iran allegedly used wasn't some sudden invention. It wasn't a last-minute miracle. It was the application of a vulnerability that American engineers had known about for years. A weakness baked into the very technology that makes modern drone navigation possible. They didn't destroy it. They redirected it. And to understand how, you first have to understand something that billions of people use every single day without ever thinking twice about it. GPS, the Global Positioning System. It was developed by the United States Department of Defense starting in the 1970s and became fully operational in 1995. The original purpose was purely military. Give American forces the ability to navigate with pinpoint accuracy, anywhere on Earth, in any weather, at any time. For years, the civilian version was intentionally degraded. The government used something called selective availability, a deliberate scrambling of the public signal, so that adversaries couldn't use American technology against American interests. And then in the year 2000, President Clinton ordered it turned off. The full precision of GPS opened up to the entire world, and that decision changed everything. It gave us navigation apps, precision agriculture, autonomous systems, and yes, remotely piloted drones, but it also opened a door that has never fully been closed. Here's something almost nobody thinks about. GPS signals are extraordinarily weak. The satellites broadcasting them sit roughly 12,000 miles above the Earth's surface. By the time that signal reaches your phone, your car, your drone's receiver, it is barely above the noise floor of the electromagnetic spectrum. It is, for all practical purposes, a whisper from space. And a whisper, as any electronic engineer will tell you, can be drowned out. Or worse, it can be replaced. The vulnerability Iran allegedly exploited has a name. It's called GPS spoofing. And here's how it works in plain language. GPS navigation functions by having a receiver listen to signals from multiple satellites at the same time. Each satellite broadcasts its location and a precise timestamp. The receiver measures the tiny differences in arrival times from 4 or more satellites and uses that data to calculate exactly where it is in three-dimensional space. Spoofing works by broadcasting fake GPS signals. Signals engineered to mimic the real satellites, but carrying subtly altered position and timing data. If executed correctly, the receiver cannot tell the difference. It trusts the forged signals. And in its digital mind, it believes it is somewhere it isn't. Think about it this way. Imagine you're driving through an unfamiliar city using road signs to navigate, and someone has gone ahead of you and replaced every single sign with a duplicate. Same font, same color, same mounting post, but pointing in the wrong direction. You would follow them. You'd have no reason not to. That is exactly what GPS spoofing does to an autonomous navigation system. Now apply that to a drone flying on autopilot over hostile territory. If the drone's navigation system is fed false coordinates, gradually, carefully, without triggering error flags, the autopilot compensates. The aircraft adjusts its heading. The drone, in its own logic, is doing exactly what it was programmed to do. It's following its instructions perfectly. Except the instructions have been quietly rewritten by someone on the ground below. According to open source defense reporting, Iranian engineers may have spent weeks studying the drone's signal behavior before attempting the intercept. Researchers at universities and think tanks have since described a two-stage process. First, jamming the drone's encrypted communication link with its remote operators, forcing it into an onboard autonomous navigation mode. Then, feeding it spoofed GPS coordinates that guided it toward a controlled landing on Iranian soil. Was every detail perfect? Did it unfold exactly as planned? The honest answer is, we don't fully know. The drone showed some signs of damage. There are competing theories. But the result was undeniable. An intact American stealth aircraft, sitting in Iran, and experts confirmed the concept was entirely plausible. A researcher at the University of Texas later demonstrated GPS spoofing publicly, redirecting a civilian yacht and a helicopter in fully controlled experiments, to prove the vulnerability was real and to push for better solutions. Before we go any deeper, I want to stop for a second and hear from you. Drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? What state? What city? And tell me honestly, did you know GPS could be spoofed before today? Because I ask that question every time I cover something like this, and the answers always surprise me. Most people are walking around every day depending on technologies they've never been given reason to question. If this is new information to you, hit subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is built for. Now, here's where this stops being just a military story. The same GPS vulnerability that may have redirected a classified stealth drone in 2011 is present in every civilian navigation system operating today. Your car, your phone, commercial delivery drones, agricultural automation systems, emergency response aircraft, air traffic infrastructure. Researchers, the FAA, and independent security labs have documented GPS interference events numbering in the hundreds over the past decade, in regions ranging from the Eastern Mediterranean to Eastern Europe to parts of the Middle East. This is not speculation. It is in published incident reports available to anyone who looks. From a practical standpoint, if you operate any kind of drone commercially or recreationally, understand that GPS is not a guarantee. In environments near military installations, international borders, or areas with known electromagnetic activity, erratic behavior may not be mechanical failure. It may be interference. If you work in any precision GPS-dependent field, surveying, construction, logistics, agriculture, GPS anomalies are a documented and growing concern in certain parts of the world. And from a pure preparedness standpoint, the lesson here applies far beyond aviation. Never build any system, personal, professional, or operational, with a single point of failure. Redundancy is not paranoia. It is engineering discipline. The military lesson from the RQ-170 is the same lesson that applies to your home network, your backup communication plan, your emergency protocols. If one input can override everything else, that is where you are most exposed. For those who want to go deeper on the technical side, GPS spoofing research is publicly available through institutions like Stanford's GPS Lab, the Department of Homeland Security, and dozens of peer-reviewed academic journals. The knowledge is out there. You don't need a security clearance to access it. You need curiosity and the willingness to look. Now let's be honest about what this story doesn't prove. The full details of what happened to the RQ-170 Sentinel remain disputed to this day. American officials have offered alternative explanations. Some analysts believe a navigation malfunction or mechanical failure played a significant role, independent of any spoofing attempt. We don't have the drone's flight data. We don't have a verified technical account of what Iranian engineers actually did. What we have are public statements, academic analyses, leaked reporting, and a drone currently on display in a Tehran museum. What we know with documented certainty is that GPS spoofing is real, that it has been demonstrated publicly, that it is a known and studied vulnerability, and that this incident, whatever its precise cause, accelerated serious investment in GPS hardening and alternative navigation technologies across the global defense industry. Not every dramatic story has a clean ending. Not every vulnerability has a perfect patch. And not every lesson from a military event translates to civilian life without nuance. What matters is that you now understand the underlying principle, and that you're asking better questions than you were 15 minutes ago. Here's the thought I want to leave you with. The most consequential events in history, military, financial, technological, have rarely been the loudest ones. The ones that changed outcomes were usually the ones nobody saw coming. Not because they were magic, but because they found the gap between what people assumed was secure and what was actually secure. Someone understood a system deeply enough to find its seam, and they pulled on it. That kind of thinking, asking what's the assumption here and what happens if that assumption is wrong, is not dangerous thinking. It's essential thinking. It's how engineers build better systems. It's how security professionals protect infrastructure. And it is how informed people make sense of a world increasingly run by invisible technologies they were never taught to question. This video is for educational purposes only. Everything discussed here comes from publicly available information. academic research, news reporting, defense publications, and government disclosures. No classified material was referenced. No illegal activity is endorsed or implied in any way. If topics like this interest you, the hidden mechanics of the modern world, the overlooked history, the science behind decisions you didn't know were being made, then this channel is exactly where you need to be. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with someone who thinks they already understand how GPS works. Leave your location in the comments below. I read every single one. And next time, we're going somewhere most people assume is ancient history. But it turns out it's still shaping the world you live in right now. Stay curious, stay informed. See you in the next one.